Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I Wrong? And it's by user MotorOdd7435. Am I wrong for being uncomfortable with my wife being friends with her friend after something she accused me of? My wife and I have this mutual friend, ex-friend for me, let's call her Kate, who we both knew independently and introduced us. Over the years, Kate and I drifted apart but still talked frequently. She's always been more of my wife's friend than me, best friend from childhood, etc. So it's never really bothered me. A few years ago, someone, tangentially part of our friend group that I only semi-knew, confided in Kate that I solicited her for nudes. I had only talked to this person maybe once or twice and it was only ever about her art. Although it's worth mentioning that she has a good side hustle in drawing hentai. All I ever said was that she was talented at it and I liked her art. I guess one of the pieces I particularly liked was a self-portrait. I won't get too into the details, but it looked nothing like her and it was an anime girl, so I'm not sure how I would know that. I'll add that what I said about the self-portrait was something along the lines of, "Holy crap, this one is perfect. The lighting and the figure are really hot. You should be doing this as a day job." She apparently only mentioned it in passing to Kate as interesting, her words apparently. And that's when Kate took it upon herself to tell my wife about it. She spent a week being upset about it before telling me. I showed her our chats and my wife talked to the friend. The friend didn't think I was trying to get nudes or anything, but she thought I knew it was a self-portrait. That was the end of that. A few months later, Kate decided to take it upon herself to tell my wife that I had asked to see pictures of her feet. Admittedly, I have a foot fetish, something my wife divulged to her, which I'm not particularly cool with, but I'm not super ashamed of it or anything, so I don't care all that much. The conversation that Kate, in my opinion, misconstrued was her venting about how frustrating and objectifying it is that she feels like every guy wants to see her naked. All I did was sympathize with that and said something along the lines of, "Yeah, I mean, I'll admit there are split-second intrusive thoughts about that I'll get when I meet people, but it's probably some caveman lizard brain crap." When my wife brought it up, I again showed her the messages Kate was referencing and she agreed it was a misunderstanding. However, when she brought it back to Kate, trying to mediate the situation rather than defending it was a misunderstanding, Kate was adamant I was subtly fishing for nudes and feet pictures. My wife didn't ask for this, but I let her go through all the messages again on my phone and computer, and she found nothing. Kate decided to cut contact with me and I haven't heard from her since. Still, I'm uncomfortable with my wife being friends with Kate. Am I wrong? Well, OP, from the information you give us, I don't think you're wrong. It sounds like Kate is trouble. I mean, let's just go through everything that's happened. First, you were having a conversation with somebody who's good at drawing anime. It doesn't seem like you were flirting or fishing for anything. And she mentioned it to Kate as interesting. But Kate interpreted that and told your wife her interpretation that you were fishing for nudes. 3 months after that, she has a chat conversation with you, not your wife, about being objectified, and you try to sympathize with her and she takes that as you requesting nude and feet pictures. And a side note on that, it's not cool of your wife to have shared that with Kate. Doesn't matter if you're ashamed of it or not, that's private, and if anybody's gonna share that, it should be you. Anyways, to me it sounds like Kate is trying to make up some drama here that doesn't exist, and since you didn't take the bait and apparently your wife didn't either, she's now blocked you, which of course drives a wedge between everybody here. So again, no OP, I don't think you're wrong. I think you need to sit down and talk to your wife about this whole thing because it sounds like Kate might try to bring some more drama into your marriage. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Zyke Torek says, "Don't ever interact with your wife's friends when she isn't present in the conversation. It's just a best practice. There are always going to be drama addicts who will take or make every opportunity possible to ruin someone's marriage. Sounds like your wife isn't buying what she's selling, which is great, but she's already got it in to make the drama now." Grumpy G says, "Block Kate. Tell your wife that she can't come into your home anymore. Your home, your safe space." Picky Pug Dog says, maybe you need to tell your wife that you are breaking off your friendship with Kate, and then your wife might tag along with you. You actually don't need this woman in your life. Time to tell your wife that she is way more important to you. Then let a bit of time for her to break off with Kate. All done passively. Your Name Doesn't Matter says, we also have to add that it's his wife's fault for telling Kate he has a foot fetish. Like, why would you tell about your significant other's kinks, sexual likes, and stuff? That's such a weird behavior. OP's edit. Here's the exact transcript of the conversation I had with Kate. Kate starts with, I'm just so sick of it. Ugh, like the one guy from work I told you about, the mentor guy. He offers to take me to a place he knows to find something to wear to the presentation we're giving next week. So I go with him and we're looking and he keeps joking that we should look at lingerie. Like, huh? What is it with man? Like, it is all, oh, women must see her bobs. What the F, LMAO? And I said, is that the dude who offered to pay for the extra e-learning crap? And Kate says, yes, I thought he was genuinely being nice, but I guess not. Yet another in a long line of men who just want to see me naked. Is it all man? Like, I don't get it. It's so effing exhausting. So I go, I mean, I've had the passing, she's attractive, I wonder what she looks like underneath her clothes. But they're more intrusive thoughts than anything I'd ever actively pursue because I'm not a monster. And Kate says, exactly, I have the same thoughts too sometimes, but it's like I don't go around asking to see every hot guy's penis. Maybe that's what he's hoping for, laughing emojis. And Kate says, he has a wife too, so it's like, huh? Ever since then, I'll see Kate from time to time. My wife will have her over or they'll be talking on Discord. I'll be polite and say hello, but she'll turn her back on me or very blatantly ignore me, which is fine. If that's what she wants to do, so be it. But there was one time that particularly pissed me off. They were sitting out back and I had come through to bring in groceries and put some stuff away in our shed. She had sandals on, and when she saw me, she asked my wife if she could borrow a pair of socks, which my wife obliged. So as I said in my post, I'm uncomfortable with her being friends with Kate. My wife doesn't have many friends though, as she suffers from some pretty bad mental health issues and doesn't get out much, and I don't want to be some controlling a-hole telling her who she can and can't be friends with. I just hate feeling like I have to be on guard when she's around, and I particularly hate that my wife, who agreed it was a misunderstanding on Kate's part and probably poor wording on mine, didn't defend me. I haven't told her to stop being friends with Kate, but I have mentioned that maybe she shouldn't invite Kate around if I'm home, or if we're going somewhere and Kate is there, I'll stay home. My wife says I'm just making the situation more awkward and making things uncomfortable for her, being that she's her best friend and I'm her husband. For additional context, sometime before this, I had a friend who expressed concern that my wife might be telling me she didn't want me to go out and see my friends anymore. This was on me, as the relationship was new, I had a new job, and I wasn't really fond of going out to bars anymore, so I never communicated this. He was particularly disrespectful about it, and I cut him off without question. I don't expect her to cut her off, but I would at a minimum appreciate her telling Kate off when she does particularly disrespectful things. Alright, well, the community doesn't think that OP is wrong, and they all agree that Kate is a problem. And from OP's edit, I kinda get the impression that OP doesn't just have a Kate problem, he has a wife problem too. Aside from the fact that the wife was sharing OP's private stuff like the kink, which we already went over, she still wants to keep Kate around as a friend considering everything she's done. I mean, all OP is doing is simply removing himself from the situation so no more misinterpretations happen. And now the wife is saying that this is making things uncomfortable for her. So yeah, I think that's wrong. I think OP needs to sit down with his wife, lay everything on the table, and hopefully the wife will understand that Kate is not a friend. Anyways, as you know, of course, we have the update. So let's move on with that to see how the story ends. So, I ended up showing my wife the original post because we had another argument about Kate. She read through it and some of the comments. I think she had a bit of a coming to Jesus moment as she came and sat down and agreed that Kate had been acting weird about the whole situation. We talked it out, and I admitted I wasn't comfortable with Kate anymore and wouldn't stand in the way of them being friends. But I don't want her coming around the house anymore. So she agreed she would 1. Not bring Kate anymore, and 2. Have a talk with Kate about what her problem is. Over the long weekend, we decided to forego our usual tradition of going to one of our parents for a big meal. So we just stayed in and ordered takeout. My wife and Kate made plans to hang out too, which I was fine with as I had some personal hobby stuff I wanted to log some time on. Kate apparently did not take being told she couldn't come over when I was home very well because she sent me a long message about how I was controlling and abusive. My wife snapped and called her. They argued on the phone for a while. I didn't listen or anything, but my wife told me she set Kate straight and basically told her she needed to cut the crap and apologize to me or she'll cut out Kate. After midnight on Sunday, I got my apology from Kate. It seemed pretty heartfelt and sincere, but I just said, "Thank you for the apology. Please understand, I'm fine with you and my wife being friends, but I would prefer to continue just being pleasant with each other." She didn't respond right away and I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night to pee and saw she had responded. And this is where it got a bit odd. She sent a photo of her legs with her feet in the frame in front of the mirror, so I was sure to see all of her feet. It seemed intentional to me, honestly. One foot had a heel and the other was bare. She accompanied this message with, "What do you think? Yes or no?" I woke up my wife to show her because I didn't want this to be blown out of context by her. My wife took a minute to comprehend what was happening and concluded she probably meant to send it to her since they get each other's opinions on outfits and shoes. A bit weird to do at 1 a.m. in my opinion, but it made sense to my wife. I replied, sorry, did you mean to send that to me? Then in the morning, she unsent the photo and message and said nothing else. Later in the day, she called my wife and said she accidentally sent me a picture of her new shoes and her feet were in them and wanted my wife to confirm I didn't save it to use later. I think this is where my wife started piecing together what some of her comments were saying about Kate being a crap stirrer. My wife put the phone on speaker and flat out asked if Kate did it on purpose. Kate got angry and asked how my wife could think that of her, and my wife just said, "Because you know he has a foot fetish," and sent him a foot guy's equivalent of a full body nude. Kate started demanding that my wife check my phone because she was having a panic attack over the thought of me pleasuring myself off to her feet. My wife rarely gets angry or petty. It's just not who she is. But my wife basically replied to that with, Kate, you should have said something sooner. I thought it was an apology photo for him. So I already pleasured him off while he looked at it. There was a huge hours-long argument that followed, but long story short, Kate is no more. Apparently, their friend group has wanted to stop dealing with her BS for some time and all jumped on this to cut her out. Sayonara, Kate, you effing drama queen. OP, your wife's pettiness is just chef's kiss. Fan-freaking-tastic way to respond to Kate and then shut her out. Yeah, Kate overplayed her drama hand, so good on your wife for calling out her BS in such a style and fashion. And now, she's also gone from the whole friend group, which apparently was also fed up with her BS. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now let's finish the video with another mood booster post because this update was fantastic. This post is from the subreddit Pro Revenge and it's by user PJ Murphy. Not going to pay overtime? Think again. I was discussing this sub with a good friend and he said, boy, have I got a story that'll fit. It wasn't his story, but his brother's, and I sat with him and got the details. Buckle up, it's a good one, and a long one. Let's call him Bob. Bob has been fiddling with computers since he was a kid and knows them pretty well. As with most IT people, he's moved from job to job. The employer he worked for was a service distribution company in Ontario, Canada, with 2 IT employees. About 3 years ago, Bob's employer decided to modernize its software. It had separate programs for dispatching, inventory, payroll, and finances, and it was complicated to move information from one program to the other. They decided to get an ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning program, and Bob recommended one that he knew inside out from a previous employer. For those of you who don't know, an ERP program handles everything: purchase orders, sales, inventory, personnel, vendors, customers, all of it. You can run a report and find out which customer bought the most part ABC in the last year, which salesman improved his numbers the most, which vendor has the fastest delivery time, and which shipper packed the most orders. Everyone in the company used the ERP program, but it was very complicated and they used aspects of it that were related to their position. For example, the receiver would accept a shipment, verify the quantity, and confirm it was received. The inventory stats would be available to the salespeople if they wanted to look up how many were on hand. The receiver didn't care what the price was or who the vendor was. He just did his job. Bob was run-ragged during the implementation process, but he managed to train most of the employees on their aspects, and after a few months, everything was running fairly smoothly. Bob still got tickets for tweaks in the software's operation and occasional hardware IT issues. Then, the company decided to expand its footprint and marketing into different time zones. That messed things up. Atlantic Canada is 90 minutes early, so if someone sent an email or an order at 8 a.m. their time, it would arrive at 6:30 a.m. Ontario time. Pacific Canada is 3 hours late, so an email sent at 3 p.m. Vancouver time would arrive at 6 p.m. This stretched out the day, so many staff came in early and worked late. Bob would arrive at 8 a.m. and there would be people who demanded his immediate assistance and were annoyed that he didn't respond instantly, even though their request was submitted before his start time. Same with late in the day. His phone would ring at dinner time with people who wanted help right now. They decided to stagger his and his IT colleagues' shift times. Bob would start at 6 a.m. and work till 2:30, and his colleague would start at 10:30 a.m. and work till 7 p.m. Bob's colleague had kids and refused the shift change. The employer insisted. The colleague quit. That meant that Bob was the only person in the IT department. The employer said he would look to hire a new IT guy, but they had trouble finding one that knew the ERP system, and they were offering well under a market value salary. Bob asked for a raise and was denied. Then he wanted overtime, and the employer told him that as an IT specialist, he was exempt from overtime laws in Ontario. Bob looked it up, and the employer was correct. This went on for some time and he knew lots of IT people socially. They told him what the company was offering was not enough and Bob knew that they wouldn't find another tech. Things went downhill from there. Bob would get chewed out if he missed a call or an email, no matter what time it came in. He had to train new hires in the ERP system and to take care of the hardware. He repeatedly asked for better compensation and was denied, so he planned to get a new job. Now here's the revenge. Bob had access to the entirety of the ERP program. When a user logged in, the time was logged, and even if they didn't sign out, after 15 minutes, it would log them out anyway. Everyone in the company was on salary, and many of them came in early and stayed late. Ontario labor law states that even salaried workers are entitled to overtime after 44 hours a week, unless they are managers or supervisors. So Bob jumped into the program and ran a report for each employee who wasn't a manager, going back all the way to when the ERP program was started. Then he reached out to an employment lawyer and got the okay to refer employees to him. Bob lined up another job, and after he left, every employee in the company got an email with an Excel sheet showing the hours they had put in past 44 hours a week. The subject line said, "You're legally entitled to overtime pay." In the body of the email was the lawyer's name. The crap hit the fan. Almost every employee authorized the lawyer to negotiate with the company on their behalf. And the company had to pay a ton of money. All the company had to do was pay Bob for the extra hours he put in. Instead, they had to pay almost everyone. Oh wow. Bob, here's to you, the unsung hero. Double wow. Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out, so here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later, and also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.